Hi, this is Sammie Smiles, and I'm your host, Sammie Vance. This podcast is sure to leave you inspired and with a smile. Now let's get right into it. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this week's episode of Sammie Smiles. I am your host, Sammie Vance, and today I'm here with not only an author, but also an illustrator. His name is Jarrett Lerner. I was honored to be on his Everyday Awesomeness comic, and my brother was gifted during Christmas time one of his recent activity books, which is really awesome. I need to get one myself. And I had first heard about him actually when we were on quarantine, and my mom had brought us the printables, had printed out some printables that Jarrett Lerner had created, and we got to create our own comics. So that's kind of how I not met him, but found out about him. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor and a pleasure to get a chance to chat with you for a bit and to be on your podcast.
Thank you. It's an honor to have you here. So I am actually going to be publishing my first book soon, and I have had so much fun along the way so far. And I know that you've published quite a few books and you've illustrated quite a few things. So can you tell us what's the funnest part about your author and illustrating journey so far?
Sure. Well, first of all, congratulations. It was I got some behind the scenes early intel about the book deal you got, and then I saw it in Publishers Weekly, the rights report, and I shouted out loud and cheered for you. It was so exciting to see your face and the write up of it. So congratulations to you. Publishing a book and getting a write-up about it in Publishers Weekly is a big deal, no matter your age. But when you're your age, it's truly exceptional. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, for me, I think the best and most exciting part of being of publishing is getting to meet people. I did not anticipate. I've wanted to be an author for a long time. And I worked incredibly hard and incredibly long and faced a mountain of rejections like every author pretty much before they start publishing. And one thing that I did not anticipate was just how many people it would lead me to meet. Kids through school visits and stuff like this and social media, and adults through conferences and school visits also. And other authors and teachers. And it's just brought me into a community that I didn't fully understand existed, the children's book community. And I didn't appreciate before how wonderful and welcoming and positive and just great it is. So I think meeting people and getting to know people and getting new friends and being inspired by kids like you, is the best part of the journey and the most unexpected.
Yeah, that's actually, it's funny because we have different journeys, but it's the same for me. I love to meet new people like you and be inspired because I get motivated from everyone that I get to meet. So yeah. I know that a lot of people actually have a career change when they originally want to be something else, but then they end up being an author and illustrator. So did that happen to you? Have you always wanted to be one or no?
So I've always, I've loved reading since I was in elementary school. That's when I really became a devoted, passionate, obsessive reader, and I still am. I got asked a few times. I've been asked, what would I rather take with me to a deserted island, a book to read or a notebook to write and draw in? And it's tough, but I think I would take a book to read because I think first and foremost, I'm a reader. So I fell in love with reading then, and soon after, I got the urge to try to create stories and worlds of my own with words and pictures. But I did not have an author visit. I did not meet authors until I was in my 20s. So one of the reasons I do author visits almost every day. Now they're all virtual. They used to be in person and virtual. But one of the things that drives me to continue doing them at the pace that I do is to give kids an opportunity to meet an author and hear about how challenging it is, even for the so-called quote unquote professionals, to make books. It takes months, years. It takes a tremendous amount of labor, and difficulties and challenges and frustration and joy as well. But I didn't know that. And so I thought that the fact that I couldn't write my stories perfectly on the first try, and that I couldn't draw the pictures I had in my mind on the first try, I thought that indicated that I was not good enough, that I didn't have whatever thing you had to have in order to be a professional. And it wasn't until my 20s that I was really disabused of that idea, that I really learned that that's wrong. And that it's tough for everyone, maybe even tougher for the professionals, because we care about it so much. So I had other careers, and I've done other things. I've had other jobs, but I've always wanted to do this. But I think the most important thing about my particular journey is that I didn't know I could do it. I didn't believe I could do it until I was in my 20s. After in my early to mid 20s, after I'd been doing it for about 20 years. So, and for those of you who are watching this, I've got I keep these handy. These are some of my earliest efforts from when I was in first and third or fourth grade. So I've been making books a long time, but I never want a kid like you who might have a book inside them. I think you've got enough drive and ambition and confidence to do it on your own. But if there's a kid somewhere who wants to do this and has the stories inside them to share with the world, I don't want that kid to be sitting there thinking they can't do it. So that's one of the reasons why I love doing so many school visits.
I love that. Yeah. So I also know that you've started so many different things. You've not only published books, but you've also started the Everyday Awesomeness comic, which I was super honored to be in. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
So what kind of inspired you to start that?
So yeah, I've started a lot of things. I started with a couple of friends, a few friends. I started a program called Kids Need Mentors. I help do this. There's this movement called Kids Need Books that I helped sort of launch, where we give away books and raise awareness about book access. Started a website. I helped start a website for middle grade books. So I think it comes from a love of this community, and also a belief that my mission is to excite and inspire and elevate and enrich the lives of kids. Mm-hmm. And I do that through books, but I see all the other work that I do outside of books as just another way to do that. So making comics like the Everyday Awesomeness comics that celebrate kids like you who are doing incredible things, is a way for me to continue doing that work, to celebrate and elevate and, just acknowledge kids. I could have found all these kids who I've made comics about and drawn comics and put together a book proposal. And I still may do that someday, but releasing them out there in the world for free is an immediate way to get my mission accomplished. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's awesome. Again, thank you so much for having me on that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you're a really good illustrator, because
thank you.
That looks really awesome.
Yeah.
So I know, like you were saying earlier, writing and illustrating takes a lot of work. A lot of work goes into it. It's not like you get it on the first try. So what have you actually learned from writing and illustrating, or your career?
Oh man, I learn every day. And I think if anyone out there listening to this wants to be a professional author, illustrator, both, one or the other, the thing you need is a love for doing it. a love for the process, and a passion, because that's what really drives you to get better and to keep doing it. It's just like, if you love a sport, if you love playing basketball, it's the same thing that keeps someone out there on the court or in their driveway shooting and improving their skills, or staying up late to practice their instrument all night to get better. It's that sort of thing that drives you. That even if you're not working on something that's going to be published, you're working away and getting better and honing your skills and learning. So I learn every day, in big ways and small ways. I like to say, kids often ask me what my favorite book I've written is, and I always say that I have to make sure that whatever book I'm working on at any given moment has to be my favorite thing I've ever made, because that's how I gauge whether or not I'm challenging myself and pushing myself and giving it my all. And hopefully, through the process of writing a book and challenging myself and pushing myself to make the best book I can at any given time for my readers, I'm learning and getting better. So I'm learning every day how to, make a comic hit the reader in a different way, how to make my sentences do this or that and land in someone's brain in a different way. So if I'm doing it right, I'm learning every day. And I would just add that the best way to learn is to make a whole bunch of mistakes, and instead of being embarrassed of them, to look long and hard at them and learn from them. So every day I like to tell kids that I wake up and I am eager to write bad sentences and draw quote unquote bad pictures, because only by taking that first step in the process can I begin the process and reach my goal.
Yeah.
It's always a process, and you just got to get in there and take a step. So I learn every day, and I love it because I love doing this stuff.
That's awesome. Great advice and a really awesome story also. So my mom really likes to know this would like to know this actually. And I also thought that it would be interesting to know, what is the first thing that you remember not only drawing, but also writing?
The first thing I remember,
Mhm.
wow. So I think all of us are artists, are drawers before we're writers. I mean, we all scribble as kids with crayons or markers or whatever, or even a stick in the mud or the dirt, before we ever write words. So I don't know if I remember my first ever drawing. I was probably a toddler, half chewing on a crayon and half slapping it across the paper. I've got a 3-year-old and a 3-month-old, and they do a lot of that. And they have done a lot of that, though my 3-year-old is becoming quite an accomplished artist. But I'm lucky that my parents kept a lot of my stuff. So I do have some really, really early drawings, me trying to, draw portraits of people, family portraits I have. And like I showed you, I think this right here, and people can't see it if you're listening, but this right here is, I think, my first attempt at making a book. And my first grade teacher actually laminated it, and helped me type up the story. And it's a pop-up book, so it's got these pop-up illustrations.
Love that.
But yeah, I think this is my first attempt to make a package, a story in a package. But I think I was doing stuff like that before it. And then this is my first comic book that I made. But what's really interesting to me, and what this question really makes me think about, is that I think a lot of what we do as creators, as we get older and older, especially people who create content for kids, primarily aimed at kids, is we try to sort of channel the energy and spirit that was in these earliest efforts.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting, these two questions back to back, because I've learned so much and I learn every day. But sometimes when I'm creating, I try to forget all that I've learned and get back to that child's like love of just throwing words together or just scribbling. So I can't remember the first things I ever made because I think I've been doing it like most of us since I've been young. And one other thing quickly is that whether or not we write it down, we are all storytellers. When you get up in the morning and see your friend or talk to your friend on the phone and you say, you'll never believe it. Last night this happened. That's a story. When you meet someone for the first time and tell them about yourself, you tell them stories or anecdotes. Our identities are stories, and we communicate in stories. So we are all storytellers in big and small ways, whether it's bound in a book or just stated orally and then lost to the ether.
I love that. So now let's get on to the rapid fire round. So I'm just going to ask you a few questions and then you can answer with the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay. It makes me a little nervous, but all right.
It's easy. It's just like favorite and stuff. So for the first one, what is your favorite color?
Yellow, but it was purple for years and years and years. And then one day I just realized that it was yellow. It's yellow.
Yeah. What's your favorite animal?
Turtles, specifically sea turtles. I love sea turtles. Sometimes when I need it, I put them on YouTube. I just get videos and I just watch them swim around, and my blood pressure and stress just plummets.
That's cool. So what is your favorite book?
My favorite book, that's not a rapid fire question. That's like I could write essays. I could write a book about favorite books. So I'm constantly reading and I'm constantly finding new books, but let me grab one. So sometimes kids don't let me get away with saying, I have too many books that are my favorites. So if I have to pick one, it's this one, Frog and Toad Are Friends.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah. So I love this book so much that at my wedding, my wife and I had our sister-in-law stand up and read the letter, which is the last story in the collection Frog and Toad Are Friends. So during my wedding, my wife's and I wedding, we had a story time. Everyone sat there and we had a read aloud of the letter from Frog and Toad.
Cool.
Our friends. Yeah.
So what's your favorite food?
My favorite food? Oh man. You might have noticed that if you look at all my books, they all have something to do with food in some way or another, because I love food, and when I'm not eating it, I'm thinking about eating it, or I'm preparing it, or I'm wishing I was eating it. But my favorite food is definitely bananas. I eat bananas. I eat a banana first thing in the morning, and I often eat more of them throughout the day. I put them in everything. I add them to stuff that most people wouldn't add them to. And if anyone wants a fun scavenger hunt, I have so far finished 9 or 10 books. Not all those are published yet, but each one in somewhere, whether it's large or small, a banana is in every single book I have finished.
I will have to look at that.
In my career. Yeah.
So if you could be any of your illustrations, what would it be?
Wow. So I've got this fall, I think in September, I've got a graphic novel series launching called Hunger Heroes. And it's about a group of superheroic taco ingredients. And one of the superheroes is named Chip Ninja. She's a tortilla chip. And she's always got a gadget for every situation. And she's sort of like a Mission Impossible, sort of like super spy. And I think it would be really fun to be Chip Ninja, who just had a gadget for everything and could like fly around and, get out of any situation. So I think that would be fun.
So yeah, for the last rapid fire, would you rather only be an author or only be an illustrator?
Wow, that is tough because clearly I can't choose because I do both. I think I think, you know what? I don't like to confine myself to one or another thing, obviously, but I think the joy that I get from like drawing something is different in a way that's, I think I would miss more if I couldn't do it. Um, there's that tired old expression, a picture's worth 1,000 words. There are some drawings and illustrations that I feel like just in one illustration tell an entire story. And while I love language as much as anything almost, um, I love the visual language because I think it's the most fundamental and primary, and I think it's universal. Um, Whether or not two people speak the same language, they can draw pictures back and forth and understand each other, and I think that's a very unique and special thing. So I think I would have to stick with the drawing.
Yeah, I think that's a good reasoning behind it too.
Yeah.
So, where can everyone find you on your social media, your website, and also find your printables that I first heard about you from?
Yeah. So I am on Twitter and Instagram more than I should be, and probably more than my editor and publisher want me to be. At JARRETT and then underscore LERNER. And I'm also at jarrettlerner.com. And the printables, the free printables, are at the activities page on the website that you mentioned. There's a couple hundred, I think, for free. And there's similar sorts of things that you'll find in my activity books. You mentioned Give This Book a Title is out, and Give This Book a Cover will be out in May, a second activity book. Yeah, so you can find me there, and my books are available anywhere you can get books. And one thing I'll say, I always say this about my books or any books: if you go to your public library or your independent bookstore or wherever and you don't see the book you want, you can always ask, and that's an amazing way to support an author that you love, by asking your library or your bookstore to carry it or get more copies or something like that. But yeah, anywhere books are sold or carried, such as a library.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So make sure to follow him and his amazing journey. Now, for the last question that I ask all my guests, what is something that makes you smile?
Something that makes me smile super huge right now is my youngest daughter's giggles. So my youngest daughter, she was born on October 13th. So she's just about 3 months old, 3 months and a week. And she's just recently started to giggle. And so I sing her silly songs, or, just make a silly face or make a silly sound, and she laughs and giggles. And that, without a doubt, gets the biggest smile out of me these days. There's nothing like it.
I love that. So thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you everyone for listening or or watching, sorry. And I really hope that this makes you smile. Make sure to follow Jarrett Lerner on his social media so that you can follow his amazing journey and maybe even get his most recent book called Giger the Robot. Sorry, thank you.
No, it's fine.
So make sure to support him because he is super awesome. And remember that you don't just have being adults to make difference. You could be a kid too. I hope you have a great day. Bye.